Today we are in the zone with my buddy Jason Zone Fisher.
The NBA, my favorite league. Kind of have some fun stories how I got my foot in the door with the NBA and been building and building there to become their go-to host.
Guess you were sad to miss the women's Final Four.
People wanted to see Caitlin Clark, but the undefeated South Carolina team. You also had the eclipse, the path of totality, right in Cleveland, my hometown. It was the center of the universe, and it was killing me that I wasn't there.
If you could think of like a great example of a brand and an athlete, working together.
Kobe Bryant was an investor and a partner of the brand, and that obviously helped get them noticed and some attention. It were my last words. I jumped and I dunked. People saw.
You kept saying you fell into things, but you certainly created that.
That's on my desk. It's on my desk. That's right. Every damn hustler.
Everybody, welcome to the Think Tank. I'm Trey Holder, your host, and today we are in the zone with my buddy Jason Zone Fisher. Jason really does all kinds of things, from TV host to MC to announcer with LIV Golf and the NBA and all kinds of stuff, traveling around the world, a bit of a globe setter right now, and but has also worked with over 30 brands in your life, doing all kinds of different experiential and branded content opportunities with the brands. So welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Trey. The only person I've ever met with a cooler name than Jason Zone Fisher is Trey Holder.
All right.
So,
you haven't met my son yet, but his name is Cannon Holder, right? I mean, poor kid's got QB1 stuck on him no matter what. He's only 7, and I'm trying to get him to throw the ball harder.
Yeah. I'm a Cleveland Browns fan. We'll take him right now, starting quarterback. Give him a deal.
Yeah, I see you're a Cleveland guy in general. We were talking about it a little bit earlier. I guess you were sad to miss the women's Final Four in Cleveland. I mean, that was the hot ticket. I think they had 18.7 million viewers. I mean, it was crazy.
It was amazing. I mean, so much star power there. Obviously, so many people wanted to see Caitlin Clark, but the undefeated South Carolina team. You also had the eclipse, the path of totality, right in Cleveland, my hometown. It was the center of the universe, and it was killing me that I wasn't there. I was in a good place. As you mentioned, I'm the host and MC for the LIV Golf League, and we had a tournament going on in Miami. So I was having a good time. It was a lot of fun, but definitely one of those times I wish I was back in my hometown of Cleveland for all that excitement.
So anyway, talk. How long you've been involved with the LIV Tour now?
Really close to its inception. This is the 3rd year of the LIV Golf League, and I kind of fell into that. My background being with the NBA, a lot of sports brands, but I hadn't really done much in the golf world. And this is just the value of networking and staying in touch with people. I interned when I was in college at the Best Damn Sports Show, period. I love this show on Fox Sports, and I kept in touch with everyone I met there, from the producers to the writers to the hosts to the casting people. And one of the talent producers there, I ran into years later when I was doing a hosting job, and she was like, "Oh, it's good to see you again." She remembered me and reconnected. She was like, "You're pretty good at this." I was like, "Thank you. I appreciate it." Kept in touch. She reached out to me. I got an email from her and said, "Hey, Jason, it's been a few years. I hope you're doing well. Any chance you're free tomorrow to go to Portland, Oregon for a one-day event?" I was super busy at the time, but I was free that next day. And I went to Portland to host the welcome party for their first ever, the LIV Golf's first ever U.S. event. It was a private event for the players, families, sponsors, VIPs. It went really well. I got to meet all the golfers. They were great. I met most of the staff. They were phenomenal. They treated me well. I had a blast, and I did a good job. And they were like, "You're kind of better than who we had before. Any chance you could come back and host the trophy ceremony?" I was like, okay, so I came and I did that, and it snowballed in year 1 of LIV Golf. I did all the U.S. events, and then since then, last year and this year, I do them all over the world, internationally, from Australia and Singapore to Hong Kong, Spain, London, and all throughout the U.S. So I kind of fell into it, and now I'm a part of the traveling circus.
Well, there's not a lot of startup sports leagues necessarily, so that's got to be pretty exciting. And I mean, clearly there's still seems to be a lot of friction with the PGA side, and I guess I thought they were coming together. I guess maybe they're not. But who knows, right?
Who knows is the key. I mean, I've become friends with almost all of the live golfers, text with a lot of them, and they don't really know what's going on either. It's like conversations are happening, and we'll see what happens and when, but we don't really know. All that we know is that live golf isn't going away. Whether there's a partnership with the PGA or not, they still will be their own thing, and everyone's pretty confident in that it continues to grow. It's getting bigger and bigger, and whether more players come over or there's maybe a new path of cohesive events or guys can play on PGA events, no one knows how that's going to work out, but everyone's pretty confident that live golf as an entity is only just beginning.
So I'm curious, by the way, when you were a host for the Browns, who was the quarterback of the Browns, and who was your favorite player there when you were in high school?
So that was 1999. The Cleveland Browns had left at the end of the 94-95 season, and there was no team, and that was the whole impetus of this television show. They wanted to get kids who didn't grow up with pro football for those 5 or 6 years into football and get them excited. So there was the expansion Cleveland Browns when they first came back in 1999. Ty Detmer opened the season, but Tim Couch was the number 1 draft pick.
I remember that.
Hope in the future. Didn't really work out the way that we had hoped, and now you see these memes of how many quarterbacks the Cleveland Browns have had since then. It's pretty insane. The Browns have been consistent. I'll give them that. They're one of the most consistent team in the NFL, where there's been a lot of heartbreak over the years, but it'll make that win so much sweeter when we go on a deep playoff run, and one day, if we ever make a Super Bowl, that would be a dream come true for so many Clevelanders.
Well, you hope it. Yeah, LeBron brought one to you for sure, right?
That's for sure, and that was an amazing moment. I was lucky I was there for Game 7 in Oakland with the block and the shot, and to celebrate that win, as Cleveland hadn't won anything, a professional sports championship in 54 years, a long time, certainly my lifetime. So that was an amazing moment, but if I could choose a team, it would be the Cleveland Cavaliers. They're my favorite franchise, and basketball would be my favorite sport. But I feel like for the city of Cleveland, a Cleveland Browns win would mean more than anything to Clevelanders.
Yeah, well, sure. Football does seem to reign supreme in most cities for sure. So, by the way, the Detmers are from my town. You're not my hometown, but the town I've been in here for 15 years. So they're from San Antonio.
Nice.
They're like the Mannings of San Antonio, Coy and
cool.
Detmer, right? So,
well, tell Ty I say what's up. I was the little kid running around the locker room.
Yeah.
Probably get out of here.
Very cool. Well, you spent a lot of time, as you mentioned. I know we'll get into some fun brand stories, but working clearly with both athletes and brands in your career. Mm-hmm. What are some of the ways that you think athletes can work best with brands? Like if a brand's looking to work with an athlete, how should that brand be thinking about it?
That's an excellent question. Obviously, brands are working with athletes more and more, and vice versa, from the professional level, now the college level with NIL deals. And how I've been utilized by brands is often to bridge that gap. When they're investing, when a brand is investing tens of millions of dollars to work with elite athletes or a big-time celebrity, influencer, whoever that might be, they'll often bring me in because it's much easier to play off of someone. You could host this podcast by yourself and have no guest, but it wouldn't be quite as dynamic and as engaging as having someone that you can bounce ideas off of, conversation with. So a brand will often use someone like myself to come in to make sure that we're on message, we're on point. Just let the athlete be themselves, have fun. I can get certain things out of them. I can tee them up for success. Every great basketball team needs a good point guard. So I'm just throwing lobs so they can slam at home and teeing them up. And that's honestly one piece of advice I would give to brands is you've spent a ton of money on working with A-list talent or whoever it is that you've brought in, or maybe it's access to an amazing event. You're capturing content around it. You're doing all the things right, but a little missing link often, and I guess this is me kind of selling myself too, I can't get out of that mode, is to have someone to kind of make sure that it all works and clicks and sings and is on brand and on message, entertaining and compelling. And not everyone has that skill set. Certainly, athletes have other skill sets. Some of them could do this, but it's just easier to play off of someone. So that would be a piece of advice that I would give to brands is, to hire me.
Well, that's good advice. I get. I'll endorse that for you too. So I think it's interesting.
Yeah,
You talk about brands working with athletes and use the athlete's unique voice too, right? I mean, I think especially these young creators that are in college and they've got to make sure they make the right decision. They work with the right brands that are authentic to them. But on the brand side, I think you're picking these athletes because they have a specific audience that likes them and they like them for those personalities. So let them be their authentic self or else it won't feel natural, right? If it doesn't feel natural, then the consumer is going to, feel like it's fake and they're not going to want to buy the product, right? At the end of the day. So
totally.
So I think that makes a lot of sense. Well, as far as, if you could think of like a great example of a brand and an athlete, working together, what would that campaign, what's an example of a really good campaign?
I mean, this is off the top of my head, but I'm drinking Bodyarmor right now, and they are a good example. I mean, that's a tough market to try to disrupt when there's Gatorade and all these smart waters that are out there. So how do they get noticed? Well, Kobe Bryant was an investor and a partner of the brand, and that obviously helped get them noticed and some attention. But I was able to work with Bodyarmor all of last year on a really cool campaign. They partnered with the MAMBA Foundation and opened up new basketball courts, refurbished courts, beautiful basketball courts in underserved, underprivileged neighborhoods all across the country, from Boston to Portland, Oregon, Compton here in the Los Angeles area, Atlanta, Chicago, all over. And they would bring in a lot of their athlete ambassadors for these big unveilings. The courts would be in honor of honoring the legacy of Kobe and Gigi Bryant. Kids would come out, have a clinic, and get to hear a Q&A with Sabrina Ionescu in Oregon, or with Jamal Crawford, who started his career in Chicago. And they could learn from them and say, like, I grew up playing on a court that wasn't half as nice as this one now, and pay homage to Kobe Bryant, to Gigi, to their legacy of making basketball more accessible for everyone and more inclusive. So many lessons you can learn in the game of basketball, any sport, obviously, from teamwork and hard work and dedication, all that. You learn playing basketball with friends. And it felt good because this was something that Bodyarmor did it, and everyone's drinking Bodyarmor. We talk about Bodyarmor, but it felt like something bigger than just a brand activation. It felt like we were doing good. We were honoring the legacy of someone who was an important part of this brand. Kids there were having the time of their life, something that they'll never forget, and a great way for the Bodyarmor athletes to do something meaningful that could be on brand and on message, but also something that is making a real impact. So that's one example that just happened to be in my hand right now, but that was a great thing to be a part of.
Yeah, I love that example as well. I mean, anytime you can have social enterprise and have a bigger message and get out there and help the community, I think is great. I mean, I love when you see athletes give back. I'm a big Longhorn, so I love Bijan Robinson. He got drafted by Atlanta, and one of the first things he did was get involved in the community there. I love seeing these college kids that are making money now, give back to their community. I interviewed Maddie Skinner, who's a 3-time national championship volleyball player at Texas, and asked her about her favorite campaign, and it was an opportunity to work with the Academy, and they gave her some freedom to go out and do what she wanted to do, and she wanted to give back to children and everything else for the commercial. So I thought that was awesome. So anytime athletes can give back, I think it's amazing. And then to be able to do an entire brand activation around it, I think is also fantastic. The other thing that you mentioned that I think is interesting, and our audience may not know this is happening a lot, but that a lot of these athletes, they're not just pitchmen anymore or pitchwomen anymore, right? They end up taking equity in these brands. And because they have ownership in it, they're pushing the brand, but they believe in the brand. They may be putting capital into it as well. So it's great for athletes that brands aren't just kind of riding on their success and their backs, but they're getting to go along for the ride as well and march towards an exit.
Absolutely. I've done a lot with Beyond Meat, and that's a perfect example of that. They have a lot of brand ambassadors who are athletes who have invested their own money in the brand because they believe in it. Chris Paul is a great example. I hosted the red carpet at some of his charity events that Beyond Meat partnered with because he's still playing late in his career because he has a plant-based diet. He eats Beyond Meat. He has a chef prepare Beyond Meat for him, and he's leaned down and he's faster and lighter, and he really credits that to why he's still able to play and at a fairly high level late into his career because of that diet change that he's made. And there's a lot of athletes who they use a product, they've invested in a product, so they've got financial stake, and it makes for better content, for better activations, for better partnerships, because the athlete isn't there just to collect a check and make an appearance and leave. They're there because they believe in what they're pitching or what they're promoting, and they will see the financial gains from it as well if it's all successful. It feels like a part of a team.
Well, we talked a little bit about athletes working with brands and an opportunity, but do you have like a favorite commercial that you could point to?
A favorite commercial? That's an excellent question. Growing up, whenever there was a new Nike commercial, it got your attention. It's still kind of that way. The way like the This Is Sports Center campaign has just been going on forever and ever and ever. But when you see a new one, I stop what I'm doing and I focus on it because I know how high quality they are and how comedically or expertly they integrate athletes into their stories and their the comedy of what they're doing. So those two that ongoing campaign, the This Is Sports Center campaign,
love sports commercials. I actually have I have like a YouTube channel where I have like all of the Sports Center commercials because I love them so much. That
I think is the best campaign of all time. They're comedic, they're funny, they're dry, they're sarcastic. You get to see a little bit of the athlete's personality, sense of humor, acting ability. And then I think Nike commercials and campaigns are just the gold standard, and they've gotten really, really good at like when a moment happens, they're ready for it. So if LeBron's going to break the scoring title, obviously they know that's coming. If you're watching the game at home, first commercial break, boom, here it is, like the perfect piece to recap and celebrate what we've just witnessed, whether it's something in basketball, golf, tennis. They do an excellent job of summing it up quickly and timely in a elevated way.
Yeah, no question. And when you're thinking about Nike, Nike's always been fantastic. I think about how perfect it was when they signed Tiger. And I think it was a Masters. I can't remember, but where the ball just stopped right before it did for the win, and then you just saw the Nike swoosh, and then it fell in. So it's like a bad one moment. So tell us a little bit about you talked about what you do with the NBA. That's a pretty fun thing to do. It was it was crazy. Yeah. Matt McClung won 2 years in a row up there, right? The guy's wild. But when you're emceeing that kind of stuff, what is it that you're doing out there on the court?
Yeah, well, it varies. It's totally different everywhere we go. But some cool highlights. The night before the NBA draft, the most recent one, I got to host a conversation, about a 30-minute conversation with Victor Wembanyama in front of 40 people, 50 people maybe, at the NBA headquarters. Victor Wembanyama's first time ever at the NBA offices in New York, the night before he's about to become an NBA player and phenomenon, and to be in that platform in an intimate setting and get to have that conversation with him about what it's like the night before the draft and what his life may look like tomorrow, let alone a year from now, and so on. That was a really cool experience. And then at every NBA All-Star Weekend, they have a giant fan fest. It's called NBA Crossover, and I'm kind of the go-to main host of that, where I get to interview NBA legends, current players on stage in front of the fans and have an in-depth conversation. This year was in Indianapolis, so had a great convo to kick off All-Star with Tyrese Halliburton, the star guard of the Indiana Pacers, who was starting in the All-Star game, kind of like the mayor of All-Star. That was a really fun experience. It was in Cleveland a couple of years ago, my hometown, celebrating the NBA's 75th anniversary. And I'm pinching myself. I'm on stage. It's me interviewing Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Dominique Wilkins in a 45-minute conversation. Or another panel I did was me with Sean Kemp and Dikembe Mutombo, two guys who were all-stars the last time the All-Star game was in Cleveland in 1997. And I was a little kid in the stands in the nosebleed seats at that game. So to be there on stage 25 years later as the one hosting and moderating these conversations, these panels, and leading that, in my hometown at All-Star Weekend, it's like a full circle dream come true moment that I pinch myself every time. Growing up a basketball fan, still being a big NBA fan, the fact that I get to have these conversations, that I get to be the one on stage with the microphone leading it, like it's a dream come true. And I've got a million examples like that of the various things that I do with the NBA, but those are the first two or three that pop in my head that just like really were, I had to pinch myself how cool this is.
Man, that's those are some legends for sure. I can still remember the human highlight reel and the Rain Man, right? Those guys could put it down pretty hard. So that's amazing.
Sure. This year, I was going to say this year in India, I did a panel a couple hours before the dunk contest with all the judges of the dunk contest and with Vince Carter, Dominique Wilkins talking about the art of the slam dunk and the history of the dunk contest and their best dunks and their most underrated ones. And like, I'm on stage with 6 NBA dunk champions, with legends of basketball, and me. It's like, clearly I do not belong, but I'll just take it back to a camera, a microphone. These are the tools that somehow now all of a sudden, like, I belong on this stage when clearly I don't. It's a pretty cool thing that I somehow find myself getting to be a part of.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know what your hops are like, but I will tell you, this may shock you. I cannot dunk, just so you know.
Yeah, I am shocked. I dunked one time in my life. I did. I dunked, and I have a lot of witnesses too, because I said, "Hey, everybody, watch this." It were my last words. I jumped and I dunked. People saw, and that's when I realized, ooh, I don't think I'm allowed to be this high off the ground. And I slipped. I lost my grip on the rim. I fell backwards. Your instinct, you put your wrist back. It snapped in half, and I have 3 plates and 8 screws in my wrist because of my one dunk.
That was your hold your beer moment right there. Hold my beer moment. But there's no video.
No video. This was, before there were cell phone videos, so I wish that at least I had the video evidence of it, but I do have plenty of witnesses on speed dial. I know who was there, so they witnessed it. They saw it, and I picked my wrist up off the ground and immediately started walking to the car in this park, this pickup game, and I was like, yep, I broke my wrist for sure, and went to the hospital, and now the rest, I'm a bionic man. But I guess it was worth it. I got one dunk.
Well, congratulations. So. It's more dunks than me. It's funny.
Right.
I'm a big skier, and it's funny how much idiotic stuff you'll do if there's a camera. I'll try that trick if there's a camera involved, but I need proof. And I need proof of life.
Exactly. At least you have that moment.
Yeah, for sure.
You need that.
I've definitely had some yard sales. So I'm glad we got to meet. I guess we met at NBA All-Star Game this year at Bread Innovators Dinner, and so that was awesome to get to hang out for a little bit. But, for our guests, why don't you tell us a little bit about, your background and what you're up to today?
Yeah, cool. Well, I definitely have a unique story. I'm originally from Cleveland, as we just mentioned, but I love mentioning it as much as possible. And I was an actor when I was a kid. I loved performing. I knew that was something that I wanted to do. When the lights go on, I lit up. And I thought that's what I would pursue for my whole life, probably. But when I was in high school, there was an open casting call for a new kids show about the Cleveland Browns NFL team, and thousands of kids auditioned, and I got picked as one of the hosts. It was called Brown's Blitz, and here I am, a sophomore in high school. I get to be on the field for all the games and hanging with the players in the locker room and on their off days. And I was like, screw acting. This is better. I'm a big sports fan. This is what I want to do for a living. I get to be myself, but I realized that a camera and a microphone, these two pieces of metal, they are my tickets to unlock every door to incredible access to amazing events, people, places, experiences. So I decided that's what I wanted to pursue. Went to Syracuse University, was a broadcast journalism major. They teach you how to do the local news. It's important, but it's depressing. That's not quite my vibe. So I was like, this is, I learned a lot, but I was like, I'm going to apply this in other areas, and graduated college, and I decided to make a documentary film, really as a way to avoid getting a real job. Thought it'd be a good little project, but that I always say, and it's a good piece of advice, it was better than going to film school. I actually just rolled up my sleeves and learned as I was doing it and made it, and shot 250 hours of footage and edited it down to a 90-minute film, played film festivals around the country, got a distribution deal, and taught myself a lot about the industry from pre-production, production, post-production, marketing, the business side, promotion, everything in between, and moved out to Los Angeles pretty soon after that. Got a job as the national youth correspondent for the 2008 presidential election, and kind of started my career from there. Just work begets work, hustling, one thing leads to another, and I've done a lot since then, working with brands as a content creator, a host, and a spokesman. That all started, I won a contest to be the face of Gillette. It was called the Gillette Ultimate Summer Job, and me and a buddy got paid pretty well and driven around America in a Gillette tour bus, all access at every major summer event, and this insane 6-week tour at backstage at Lollapalooza, on the field at the Baseball All-Star Game, at the ESPY Awards. Every day was better than the rest. When it ended, I was like, I gotta keep this going. So we sent these Gillette executives a video, not an email, to show them, not tell them why they should keep working with us. It worked. We turned a 6-week gig into the next 2 years as a host, spokesman, creator for the brand, producing content as well. And that led to more and more opportunities in the branded entertainment space, where I worked with Butterfinger, Esurance, Skype, Pizza Hut, so on and so forth. We can get into a lot of that. Hosting television shows for the Big Ten Network, for Travel Channel, and always basketball. I mentioned sports. Basketball is my favorite sport. The NBA, my favorite league. Kind of have some fun stories how I got my foot in the door with the NBA, and been building and building there to become their go-to host at all the big events that they have throughout the year, from All-Star Weekend to Summer League, the in-season tournament to the draft and everything in between, and the LIV Golf League, which I also kind of fell into, where I travel all over the world globally with them, hosting the trophy ceremony, the welcome party, the shotgun start, all the scoreboard videos. Golf but louder is their slogan. I am but louder, in a sense. So I'm leaving a lot out, but that is a little bit of my path and my journey, and I'm very grateful that I get to have fun for a living.
We had the CMO of Beyond Meat, AK, came to our South by Southwest Brand Innovators event. So awesome guy, super innovative guy. Love what they're doing. Cool. So I know you've got some great stories. I don't know if you want to share your Butterfinger story, but that was fantastic. But any stories you want to share from your background working with brands would be amazing.
All right, well, you teed up the Butterfinger story, so buckle up. I guess here you go. I will tell you this. So early in my career, I was the host and spokesman for Nestle Butterfinger Candy Bar. Me and a friend, we were paid well to go all around the country making comedy videos for the Butterfinger brand. But this one, and like I mentioned Gillette earlier, we weren't driven around. We had to actually drive around America ourselves, about 25 cities over 6 weeks in this giant Butterfinger truck. Pretty ridiculous looking thing. So I was like, I don't know how to drive this thing. We had to do training and figure this out, and we did this, and it was a really fun experience. And we were all over the country doing really cool activations with some celebrities, some athletes, influencers at different festivals and events. Great way to see America and pass out Butterfingers. Well, it ended at Comic-Con in San Diego, and for whatever reason, I guess there was bad blood between Butterfinger and Comic-Con. For the sake of time, just accept that as a fact, rather than getting into the weeds of that. So our summer tour ended there, and the Butterfinger executive said, we're not coming back to Comic-Con, and we want to go out with a bang. We want to do a giant stunt to like make a mark. Now, everyone, if you've ever been to Comic-Con in San Diego, everyone's trying to get your attention. Every brand and network and movie studio and TV show, everyone is there trying to break through and make noise and get attention. So we came up with this idea, 6:30 p.m. of Saturday night, the busiest time. We're in that Butterfinger truck on the first street outside the convention center where traffic stems for the whole city. My friend Adam is driving the truck, and I'm on the microphone on those loudspeakers. What's up, nerds? Who wants Butterfingers? We're throwing out boxes of Butterfingers, attracting a big crowd of people coming around. Well, we had a remote-controlled smoke machine rigged up inside the hood of the truck. I hit a button, activate it. Smoke starts billowing out of the hood. People are yelling, "You're on fire! You're overheating!" I'm like, on the microphone, I don't know what's going on. We have a fuse that we pull, and it stops our truck in the middle of the street, so it makes that noise, like it won't start, and like we have this all set up, smoke's coming out, so now our truck is broken down in the middle of the street, the first street, where all of like the city of San Diego's traffic is stemming from, people all around. We jump out of the truck. We're wearing our Butterfinger shirts and our limited edition Butterfinger tighty whitey underwear, of course, as one does. And we pop the hood and we're running around. Now there's more of a crowd gather around, like, what is happening here? And a cop runs up. He's having a nervous breakdown. His only job is to keep traffic moving. He's like, "What are you doing? The whole city's backed up because of you. Get in your truck. Get out of here." Like, "I'm sorry, it's overheated. We can't start it. We don't know what to do." He's calling for backup. I'm like, "It's all right. I got jumper cables in the back." I run to the back of the truck and I open these two big back doors. But as I do it, we had a ramp rigged up inside with over 5,000 pounds of Butterfingers. So they all come pouring out on top of me into the middle of the street, the middle of the traffic. You see this cop here. He doesn't know what to do. So he's freaking out. We've now turned what was once a fully functioning street into an all-out Butterfinger block party. Just thousands of people grabbing as many Butterfingers as they can hold in their arms. I'm up on the back of the truck throwing more out. He grabs me, sees me instigating this whole thing. He handcuffs me. He drags me down the street in my underwear, handcuffed. I look back in this photo that you see here, and I just realize the whole crowd is marching towards me. I've spread crispity, crunchity, peanut buttery deliciousness to the city of San Diego. I am now the Butterfinger martyr. People love me. They're chanting, "Free Butterfinger Man, free Butterfinger Man." The cop now has lost all control. They're surrounding the cop car he throws me in the back of. He puts his sirens on and he takes me off. I was arrested. I was charged with littering, obstructing the street, and disturbing the peace. But Butterfinger was so happy because hashtag Free Butterfinger Man was trending on Twitter. And these are press photos that went viral of me, all over the country, getting arrested here, good times. So they got me a Butterfinger lawyer who got all the charges dismissed. All the fines were paid. Nothing's on my record. And a few weeks later, I was at Nestle headquarters giving a speech on viral marketing campaigns and why this was so successful. So my parents were very proud of me, even when I called them from San Diego jail in my underwear explaining what happened.
Well, hey, man, I love your energy always. I'm super glad we got to spend some time together on the call. I hope, or on the podcast here. I hope I get to see you here pretty soon. We're going to be down at F1 for Brand Innovators. So I don't know. I know you're toured now. You're traveling around the world, but hopefully we'll see you here pretty soon. And hopefully maybe you'll be around for the next Final Four. It's next Final Four is in San Antonio on my home turf, so we're going big. So got to get you emceeing one of our events someday for sure.
Let's go, Trey. Come on. Who do I got to tell? What podcast do I have to come on to get a hosting gig?
Here's the deal. I got 2 days to make happen. We got to get this Butterfinger Man going again. We got to get you emceeing a Brand Innovators event. I know I can make one of those happen. I know I got.
All right. I'll take one. 1 out of 2 ain't bad. So I look forward to that, and look forward to seeing you in person again soon. And to anyone who's watching this out there, listening, I appreciate that. Thanks for following along. You can give me a follow on Instagram. It's probably the best channel you can find out more about all the crazy adventures and things that I'm doing, is some unique behind the scenes access of the LIV Tour, the NBA, and everything in between. JZ Fish, Jason Zone Fisher, JZF. You'll find me there.
Awesome, brother. We'll appreciate you, man. See you soon.
All right. Thanks, Trey.
Thanks, everybody.